Welcome to Real Estate Real World, where we talk to the movers, shakers, and leaders that are getting it done right now in the real estate industry and beyond. I'm your host, Marguerite Crespillo, and I started this podcast simply dedicated to calling people about what's really happening in this crazy roller coaster ride of real estate. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes and stay up to date on the newest stuff by adding yourself to the list at www.realestaterealworld.com. Now, let's dive into the world of real estate. Woohoo! Guess what time it is? It is time for Real Estate Real World, where we get to talk to all the cool people. And this guest today is no exception. I'm excited to talk to somebody from Australia, and I love her accent. So I'm really excited to welcome to the show today, Lisa B. Lisa B has been in the real estate game for over 30 years. It sounds like we've been about the same time, and has owned her own brokerages in multiple locations along the way. She's also a 6-time best-selling author and has helped others turn their dream of publishing a bestseller into reality. On top of that, Lisa created the Real Estate Club training program, where she helps real estate agents level up their game and think bigger than ever. As a coach and trainer, Lisa loves working with realtors to show them how to shift their mindset and aim for massive success in real estate, whether it's through her books, programs, or one-on-one sessions. Lisa is all about helping others achieve amazing results and build the careers that they've always dreamed of. So welcome to the show, my friend Lisa.
Thank you for having me. I've got to say g'day, mate.
I love it. I love it. I love the accents. And you probably think, we have an accent, of course, but it's always entertaining. I love the accent. So I'm excited to talk to you because I don't know that I realized, we're both on EXP's radio show, which is cool. We get to put our podcast up there, but that you're a 6-time author. So I've written one book, and that was took a long time. So tell me about the books you've read and what inspired you to do that. The books you've written, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it is a hard thing. You wouldn't think so much work goes into it. One book took me 10 years to write. The others have taken minimum probably 6 to 12 months. So it is a big effort to write a book. But yeah. I was a guest in one book to start with, which was amazing, a compilation book. Then I really saw the power of what that did and how I could use that, how I could leverage that, how awesome it was. So then I did a couple of compilation books as well for other agents. And then I wrote a book about, it's called Secret Agents. So it's all about, everybody's heard about multiple streams of income. This is about multiple streams of inquiry. So how to make the phone ring more than, just your portals. And then I wrote a book on masculine and feminine energy, which I really love. That's a topic I love. And then I also published a book. My mum and dad passed away about 20 years ago, and mum wrote a poem for my nieces and nephews, her grandchildren. And on her deathbed, I promised her that I would publish her book for her, or her poem for her, not thinking that I'd ever really do it, but it was a promise I made. And then after I did my books, I went, well, and my son said to me, I wish I could publish a book. And I went, well, actually we can. And so I published it in his name because he never met his grandparents at all. So I did a caricature of him and my mum. So it's got, it'll like a photo of them together as they'd never met. So that's kind of like a little legacy that I could leave, for my mum and my son. So, yeah.
Oh, how cool is that? Yeah, I wrote a book it's called 100 Things I Love About You, about my relationship with my husband. So I did that, but it took me over 10 years, to actually get it done. And so I have a couple others that I'm working on now. So maybe we can powwow a little bit on how to get that done a lot faster, because it was something else. Yeah.
Yeah. I love writing books. It's awesome. And then I've helped other people write books, or not write books, but publish books as well, self-publishing. So if you want some tips on that, I can definitely help with that as well.
Yeah, that would be awesome. So how did you end up getting into the real estate industry?
It was something, when I was at school, I remember we went on an excursion to show homes, like display homes of builders. And I remember at that time thinking, wow, this is awesome. Like, these are so beautiful. So it started with like the sort of being interested in houses. And then it went to, investigating about real estate and all that sort of thing. And I went, I can do this. Like, this is amazing. And then I started down the sales, I read so many books on sales and all that sort of thing. Like Brian Tracy was my Bible.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I've still got it here next to me, and it's something that, and I made myself, because a lot of people don't implement. And I'm like, okay, I've got to implement everything I learned, whether it's right or wrong. I'm just going to have faith that it's right. So I got the book, I highlighted it, and I wouldn't go to the next page until I did what he said. That was basically
Love
what
it.
I did. I forced myself to do it. That was testimonials. That was like everything like that. And I went, it's got to work. It maybe not everything will work, but some of it's got to work. So and then I just had a passion for sales. I was just like, sales is the best job in the world. There's no ceiling to it. You know, you write your own checks basically. And the other thing that I love about it is you get what you put into it. You get out of it what you put into it. If you don't do anything, you won't get anything. But if you work hard in sales and you master the craft, it's the ceiling is it's just limitless what you can achieve. So that's what I love about it.
So, I mean, most definitely, those are all the reasons that I fell in love with real estate as well. And so, I guess one of my questions actually, kind of sort of on topic, I'm just curious how real estate works in Australia. Is it different than it is here in the US, or do you know?
Yes, I do. I actually did an interview with a lady. She's in Miami in Florida, and we actually did, because I'm always curious too.
Yeah.
So we sort of went through, okay, I do this, what do you do? I do this, what do you do? I do this, what do you do? Basically, it's the same. Up until recently, obviously, you had your two parts of the transaction and all that sort of thing. We do have parts of that as well. We have buyer's agents, but they're paid by the buyer, not by the seller. So we sort of did an interview like that. And I did one like that for India as well. I sort of interviewed an agent, and South Africa. So I get curious about that as well. Basically, it's the same. It's the same principles and all that. There's lots of different legalities, and you've got different legalities all the way over America as well. But I mean, basically, yes, it's the same. To cut a long story short.
Is the time frame take the same? Does it take about 30 to 45 days or whatever to close a transaction?
Yes, yes,
Huh.
yes, yeah, yeah,
That's really interesting. Yeah, I mean, I know it's pretty much the same throughout the US, and that's what I tell agents a lot of the times. I'm like, look, there might be some minimal legal challenges or differences that you deal with in Florida versus California, but
yes.
to me, sales is sales, right? It's helping guide people through a process and
Yeah.
helping them really understand how, things work. So it's really no different in that arena.
I mean, it comes back to, you've got a property, you've got somebody that wants to sell, you've got somebody that wants to buy. You just got to find those people and bring them together. I mean, people overcomplicate things. And I think, you being in real estate the same period of time that I have been, it was basic back when we started. It was easy, it was simple,
Yeah.
it didn't get clouded, it was very straightforward. Whereas I believe now a lot of people are making, and that's what I like to do, is get agents back to the basics, because I think people try and confuse it to make money, basically. All these different AI things and apps and, subscriptions here and there. It's like,
True.
oh, well, I've got to have this. And particularly because I'm in a lot of the American Facebook groups as well. And I find that, a lot of people are always, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, they do it here in Australia too, but I find in a lot of those chat groups, it's very technical orientated. It's very much, what apps do you use? Not just picking up the phone. That you do talk about sphere of influence. They do talk about that a lot, but a lot of people still believe there's a magic pill, and that happens here too. What's the magic pill? If I pay, and there's people that are brand new in real estate paying like $1,000 a month or $2,000 a month to have somebody else ring around for them to try and find leads, or that sort of thing, when they've got nothing else to do. Why don't you pick up the phone yourself? You've got nothing to do, you've got no listings, you've got no buyers, you've got nothing. Go and do that yourself. Don't pay somebody $2,000, because you know what, that person's going to find the best lead in the world, and you're not going to be able to convert it because you're not experienced enough.
Exactly.
So that's what I find, is people are still looking for that magic pill, but we just got to come back to the basics, and that's what I feel a lot of people are just still not prepared to do the hard work that it takes, and that's what it is. It is hard
I
work.
love Yeah, I love hearing that because I agree. I think that the best thing you can do is definitely do the basics. I mean, that works. I've been doing it 31 years, like you've been doing it over 30 years as well. And every time I get, distracted or sidetracked by, the next shiny button, I
Yeah.
remember that what this industry is about, this business as a whole, is relationships. And you
Yeah.
can't delegate relationships. You just can't. Not at least not the last time I heard. You can't outsource a relationship with somebody. You have to build and maintain and nurture that relationship yourself if you genuinely want to do business with somebody, right?
Absolutely. There's nobody in the world that's going to see an ad on Facebook, that somebody's paid 2 grand for, $1,000 for, and just go, oh, wow, I'm going to list with that person. It doesn't work like that. That's not the highest point of the relationship, a Facebook ad. They've actually then got to Google you. They've actually, they will Google you probably. Then they've got to meet you. They've got to like you, know you, trust you, all of those sorts of things. And you don't get that from a Facebook ad or somebody cold calling on your behalf. They've got to see. I think they've got to see that you've put in the hard work. So, I used to door knock a lot, so it's like I get in the door from door knocking, and then I earned the right to say that I worked hard to get this. I don't sit on my backside in the office or in my lounge room waiting for the phone to ring. I'm actually proactive. So the way that I found you is the way that I'm going to find buyers as well. I earn the right to do that. Whereas if I've got somebody doing that for me, I haven't, I think you've got to earn your stripes and everything as well. Once you build your reputation, then you get referrals. You get people that are, experienced you and said, okay, go with this person because they're amazing. But you've got to earn that, trenches. Yeah.
So one thing that has popped in when we were talking that I'm actually pretty fascinated about is you talked about the difference between male and female energy. And what fascinates me about that is, and I'm sure that you can relate to this, is that, over 65% of the real estate agents, at least here in the United States, I'm not sure about Australia, are women. And many of them are women over the age of 55.
Yeah.
Yet 95% of our leaders are men. And this has become apparent with, Renee Funk has started, her and several others of us that have all participated in EXP's Women's Impact Network, which is pretty exciting and pretty powerful. But I'm curious what your thoughts are on that, and how did you end up writing a book about that?
Well, here in Australia, when I started in real estate 31 years ago, there wasn't a lot of females at all, and it was very intimidating. It's changed a lot now. We don't have the higher percentage that you do now with women. There's a lot more. I'd say it's still male dominated, but I remember seeing something in America. There was a seminar, and I don't know if you remember it. There was a seminar, and it was like 7 men. And it was, do you remember this? And it went all over social media. And it was like,
Yeah.
how we can help women in real estate. And it was 7 men, and it got shut down. But it was
Yeah.
like, are you serious? The 7 men are going to be talking about what we want and what we need, which was quite hysterical. But anyway, it got shut down. But well, for me, back when I wrote this book, I was doing a lot of Tony Robbins. So I sort of had done platinum partners with him and did a lot of different things with him. And so he was very big on that masculine and feminine energy and polarity in relationships. And the book, it's actually a dating book, which I didn't want it to be. I had it professionally edited, and they taught me into doing a dating book, which is not what I wanted. It's still the same principles. If you read it, it's still the same principles. But I was very masculine in my energy. And honestly, if I hadn't have done Tony Robbins, I think I would have had a heart attack because I was that stressed out. I was so focused on getting my goals and whatever. And I remember somebody saying to me once about stopping to smell the roses. And I'm thinking, why would you do that? What a waste of time. I'm too busy. I'm going to get my listing, or, I'm going to do this. I wouldn't have thought to go to an art gallery and look at the art, or I wouldn't have thought to, I remember being in the movie theater and thinking, I really should be at work. What am I doing here? Oh my God, and I'd be at work going, why aren't I at the movie theater? And I was never, ever present where I was. And so it was just, and I call it masculine energy. I was just so, get out of my way. I'm going to achieve my goals. I've got to be the best at this. I've got to be the best at that. I've got to be the best at this. And all my staff have to be the best at this. And all my staff have to do this, and they have to win awards. And, I was putting all my happiness into external sources. And and Tony Robbins actually did this intervention on me because I was one of the worst in the room. There were 50 of us, and we had to fill in this questionnaire thing about it. And I remember we came in from a break, and he had on the butcher's paper Lisa's values and rules. And anyway, there was a piece of paper out, and I could see it, and I've gone, oh oh my God, I'm going to get an intervention by Tony Robbins. And I went and hid in the toilet. I'm like, I'm not coming out. I'm not coming out. Anyway, the trainer came in and said, come on. You can't go anywhere. You've got to come out. I'm like, no. He didn't know I was hiding in the toilet. But anyway, so then I came out and he did this intervention. It was like, you are basing all of your happiness on someone else and external sources, and then he went through to go, so what if you don't get that goal? It's like, I have to be number one in my area. So what if you don't get that goal? You're going to be unhappy. And it wasn't like, he does this process in Date with Destiny where it's like, how are you going to be happy? And it's got to be, I've got to do this. And it was like all of them I had to achieve, not just one to make me happy. It was absolutely everything on that list. And so then he does this process that it's like, that you identify being successful, different ways that you can achieve all the time, whether you get that big goal or not, So honestly, if I hadn't have done that, I reckon, anyway. So from that, I identified that, okay, I'm such in my masculine energy all the time. I don't smell the roses. I don't sort of take time for myself and things like that. And so for 10 years, I really analyzed every thought I had, everything that I did. I spoke to thousands of other people and got their take on it. And every word I wrote in there, I went, is this right or not? Because when you write a book, and you would know, when you write a book, you go, okay, somebody could come back and challenge me on this. Am I going to think this way in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years? Is this right, what I'm saying? And so that's why it took me so long, because every sentence I would kind of go, ask 10 people about this, ask 20 people about this. So, it was sort of just a metamorphosis, if you like, of what I went through. And it took me a long time to sort of get out of that mode, if you like. So it was just a real passion of mine. Yeah.
It's interesting because in thinking about that, like I said, there's a big difference in the way that men operate in real estate and the way women do.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating to me because it seems, correct me if I'm wrong, that men more or less, and obviously there's people that do it every which way, but men seem to be more focused and business driven, number driven, that type of thing, where women seem to be, in most situations, not all, but women seem to be more relationship driven, more, emotionally driven in the real estate process. And that seems to be clear not only in the clients that we represent many times, but in the agents that we're working with. I mean, at least that's what I see in our industry, in our market.
Yeah, and when you say men and women, men and women can still have masculine and feminine energy. You can get a
You're
man
correct.
that has feminine energy and is all about the relationships. I still had the ability to have that relationship thing as well, but I was very focused on numbers, driven, get out of my way, just really, I wouldn't assertive to the next level. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
I
like,
understand.
I am not leaving this listing presentation until I get the listing, whatever it takes, this is whatever become every objection, like research sales, like work 7 days a week, it was just, and as I said, the best way I could say it is get out of my way. My goal is there. Everyone get out of my way, so, but it was also, it was great for results. It was great for the business, but then obviously if you've got that, then other things suffer. Your health suffers, your relationships suffer, your peace of mind suffers, your just everything else is at the expense of that. Tony Robbins does a life wheel, and it's sort of like you've got a little pie, and then you put it into your different segments of your life, and then you write, you sort of just draw it from 1 to 10. 0 is in the middle, 10 is at the end. And so you go up there and you say, where do I rate myself this one out of 10? And then what do I have to do to get from that to 10? And so like my life wheel, the relationships, personal relationships were like 2, but my business was like 10. My financial was like 9.5. My health was like 4. And so when you've got that wheel, then you can see that if that was a tire, it would be really a bumpy road, so it's kind of, and I still do that today. I still have a look at a life wheel and go, okay, well, yeah, it's great, but this one, I just got to pull this one up a bit to make it more balanced. So to me, that's the balance in life, and if you haven't got that balance, that's when it's like something suffers. If you spend all of your time in health and fitness, your finances are going to suffer. If you spend all your time in your relationship, your work and your health and whatever else can suffer. So to me, life is about balance, and to recognize that you've got that balance, and then what can you do? And you can still get the same results without, the way that I was. You just got to do it better and smarter. And if you're healthier and you feel better, you're probably going to get better results anyway. And if you make sure you go on holidays and you make sure you smell the roses, you're probably going to be better in business as well. So that was just a massive thing that I had to go through, and it took me so long to work out how to change, because I didn't know. I was like, say to people, so what do you do? How do you do this? And I'm like, oh, okay. So trying to get other people's model of the world that I didn't get. I didn't understand. It was like I was so far down that rabbit hole of business and work that I just didn't know how to switch off. I didn't know how to enjoy myself. I really didn't. So
So it's
yeah.
interesting too, because I mean, we seem to have some parallels to our life. You used to own a brokerage. It sounds like you've owned a couple brokerages. I owned a brokerage for 22 years before making the decision to join EXP Realty. And so it's interesting that you did that as well, and you have a podcast. Tell us a little bit about your podcast.
Okay, so it's called Let's Talk About Real Estate. So I've also got a Facebook group called Let's Talk About Real Estate. And that's kind of where I got inspired to do that, because people would come in and, sort of write questions and all that sort of stuff, or talk about different things. So we started doing the podcast based on the questions in there, or topics or whatever. Now it's sort of, anything. And I love to do interviews, and hopefully you'll come onto my show as well.
I'm looking forward to it. A couple of weeks. We're getting it on the schedule. The funny thing is we've been having a little bit of issues with the time difference, because what did we figure out? You're like 24 hours or 27 hours time difference. So I'm excited to be on your show, though.
I hate trying to work out time differences, even just daylight saving here. Like, it's like I can't work it out. My brain can't compute. It's so I'm trying to work it out. I always just say, can somebody else work this out for me? But let's talk about real estate. So I talk about sort of everything, like lots of different guest speakers like you do. I love it. It's sort of, you learn so much about different people, and some of the questions people ask, and it really gets you thinking a lot. Like, I went on a podcast the other day, and a guy said to me, I was talking about big picture thinking. And that's something I've always been able to do. And the guy that was interviewing me said, oh, okay, big picture thinking. Do you think that's something that you were born with, or do you think that's something that you've learned as you go along? And I'm like, I really don't know, so it's like getting curious. And I know a lot of people say to me, they can't think big, and this is why, I love to sort of show agents what's possible. And that's with EXP. It's a global organization. You can go this small in your demographic location, or you can go globally and you can do whatever you want, because you've got the global platform. So I love to sort of, tell agents, or sort of show them what they can do with different business ideas and things like that. Some of them, are not big picture thinkers, and they don't want to do that, and that's okay, But it's interesting. I'd love to know, what you're a big picture thinker. Obviously, you've owned a brokerage and all that. Would you call yourself a big picture thinker?
Oh, most definitely. I mean, I'm always seeing down the future and down the road, and
Yes.
I've been a goal setter and written down goals since I was a little girl. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Same.
I literally have journals from when I was a kid of writing down what I was going to do in the future and things like that. So I'm definitely a big thinker. Yeah.
So we have the ability, I think we have the ability to sort of, and this is what somebody described to me, that we could see a situation like, say, EXP. We can sort of rise above it and look down on it and go, oh, okay, that part fits in with that part, and that part fits in with that part. Whereas, and I went to it was a speaker training course that I did. And the guy there said that he could tell what people's special gifts are. And so anyway, he went around the room. I had to fill in this question. He went around the room and he said, okay, your gift is that you speak to 20 people. That's your thing. Your gift is that you are somebody who wants to talk in stadiums. That's your gift. 500 people, you could do that standing on your head. You couldn't, whatever. And then he got to me and he goes, your gift is a big picture thinker. And there's like, I think 20 people in the room or something. I'm like, what do you mean? And he said that example. And I'm like, can't everybody do that? And I went around the room and they were all like, no, 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 no. And I'm like, are you serious? And there was one other person that said yes. And I was like, wow. I
Yeah,
thought
that's
everybody could
crazy.
do that. I thought everybody could do that. But it's not, some people are very, that they do their business and that's it. But I like to then, if not everybody's got that thought process, then I like to sort of go, do you know what, you could actually do this as well, and sort of do a bit of a model about what that could look like. So I get really excited about that, and then you can see them go, oh wow, it's not something they would have necessarily thought about. So
Most definitely. I mean, I think that that's really fascinating. And, I learned that too, that not everyone has their same way of thinking. In fact, we have a good friend in common, Hank Avink, who I adore. He was on our pod a couple months ago back. He was on a podcast and I love him to pieces. I met him a few years ago. I want to say we were in New Orleans when he'll kill me for this, but my husband's a stand-up comedian and we ended up in this dive bar in the middle of nowhere and Hank got up and did a little stand-up. I'll never share the video because I promised him I wouldn't, but
really, yeah.
but I love Hank. And what I love most about him is he has the ability to actually simplify things like nobody I've seen, right? So while some of us can see big picture, he's really good at like honing in and saying, okay, you got to do this one step at a time. And I love that
Yes.
about him. So we'll definitely tag him in this show. Have you had him as a guest on your show?
No, I haven't yet. I'm going to have to. But
You totally have to have him.
I love people that can do that. I don't have that gift. I do. But I really have to think about it. I really have to go, okay, I'm not detail orientated. I really have to sort of go, okay, what's the first step, and then move them. It takes me a lot longer to do that.
Yeah.
So I love people. I love that everybody's got special gifts that you can tap into. But no, I'll definitely have Hank on my show too.
Oh yeah, you got to have him on your show. I love him, and we'll definitely have to tag him. Matter of fact, I'm going to take a picture real quick. I'm going to send it to him. Hold on. There we go. Smile. There we go. I'll send it off to him and show him. So, but thank you so much. I feel like we could talk for hours and hours and hours, but maybe we can spend a bit more time when I'm a guest on your show.
Absolutely.
So,
and I didn't know has he done stand-up comedy before, or he just had a go?
no, and he will never admit to doing it. So
That's
he's going to
hilarious.
kill me for even saying anything about it on the show.
But you know what, I'm going to text him as soon as I get off this.
And you're going to say, hey, I did a show with Marguerite and she sent me your video. You'll have to tell him I'm joking because he'll show up at my doorstep. So
no, I'll say to him that I saw it on YouTube. I just saw a video of you on YouTube doing a stand-up comedy. You were awesome. See what he says. Like, what?
He will die. He will die. No, but I love Hank, and it's so funny that we have him in common. So I'm grateful for that. And thank you so much for being on our show today. I'm really excited, and I look forward to being a guest on your show as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
We'll definitely post links to your podcast and links to your Facebook group in our show notes. So you guys be sure to go and follow her. The name of your real estate group on Facebook is called what?
Let's Talk About Real Estate.
Okay, perfect. And that's the name of your podcast too, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So be sure to follow her and check her out. And I'm excited to see more of what you have coming up. And someday I want to go. That's my big picture. I want to go to Australia. I've never been there. So
I've got kangaroos close by, koalas. Yeah, anytime.
We'll do it. Thank you so much for joining us, Lisa. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us again on Real Estate Real World, where we get to talk to all the cool people, including the Australians out there. So we're thrilled to have people from all over the world on our show, and we're excited to have you listening in. If you are listening from somewhere else in the world, I would love to see your comments on our social media and on our podcast. And be sure to follow MargueriteCrespillo.com. I recently posted a free report called The 10 Fatal Mistakes Agents Make that's holding them back from success. You can get free access to that report. Just head on over to MargueriteCrespillo.com and we will give you the download immediately. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on Real Estate Real World. Go out and make it an amazing day. Thank you for joining us today on Real Estate Real World, where we talk with masters and leaders in the real estate industry and beyond on how we can raise the bar in our industry. Please subscribe over on iTunes, and while you're there, be sure to give us a review. Your reviews encourage us and help others to find our podcast for show notes and hot topics on what's going on right now in our real estate industry. Also, hop on over to www.realestaterealworld.com and add your name to our email to get early advance notice of upcoming podcasts. Thanks again for listening, and go out there and be a part of the elite masterclass and raising the bar on the real estate industry.